In fulfillment of his campaign promise to Nigerians, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has kicked off the disbursement of student loan across public universities in Nigeria. The management of the Nigerian Education Loan Fund said it has now disbursed a total of 2.5 billion naira to 22,120 students across 12 tertiary institutions in the country, with more in the pipeline. In addition to the institutional fees, the management disclosed that it has also commenced payment of upkeep stipends to students, with 442 million naira allocated for the month of July. The disbursements are made based on each institution's academic calendar and is expected to significantly ease the financial burdens on students and their families, enabling them to focus on their studies and future. The law, reenacted earlier this year, created the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, saddled with the responsibility of handling all loan requests, grants, disbursement, and recovery expected to be funded through donations, gifts, grants, endowments, and revenue accruing to the fund from any other source, according to the Act. On this episode of Nigeria Today, our guests shall be discussing expectations and prospects of the student loan scheme. Welcome to another episode of Nigeria Today, a weekday program that discusses current and trending issues of the day. I am your carrier, Clinton. Thanks for joining us. Now, joining us to discuss the disbursement of students' loan is Ganiyu Saliu. He's a registrar, University of Ibadan. Welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, also joining us in the studio for the conversation is Dr. George Abakahe. He's a political and public affairs analyst. It's good to have you in Nigeria Today.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Now, Dr. George, to start with, how important is the scheme to students and parents?
Thank you again for having me. I believe the student loan scheme is perhaps the most important policy that has been undertaken by the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We all realize that in Nigeria, all hands are not equal. And it is common knowledge that many parents are unable to send their children to school. Now, Mel Fund has come in, whether you are in private university, whether you are in government institution, and more importantly, they are also covering people in vocational studies. Whether you're, studying to become a mechanic, a carpenter, or any kind of vocation, you are covered. So long as you possess the, prerequisites, you are covered. So I think it is a very good idea, and I really thank the president, for his courage, because for several decades now, we've not been able to have it this way. And this particular policy is also woman related. Even when you look at the way they will pay back, it has elements of, compassion and benevolence. I think it's a very good idea.
Thank you. Now, back to you, Ganiyu. Now, the student loan scheme is one of the campaign promises, of the president, and it's been fulfilled. Right now, it has started. Of course, a lot of people were, anticipating this. They were expecting it. When will it start? And now it has started. What's your take on this?
Well, thank you very much again for having me. It's a development that puts the smiles on the faces of Nigerians, especially the operators of the higher institutions. Over the years, it's been difficult to really raise funds to carry out our businesses in the higher institutions, to the extent that became very difficult many times even to pay our bills, electricity bills, buy reagents in the laboratories, buy books. But with this loan scheme, it has brought a lot of relief. So, like doctor said, it's one of the best things that the government is doing for the masses of Nigeria, and especially in trying to educate our teeming youth population in such a way that no Nigerian youth would have to drop out of school again on account of inability to pay school fees or levies. So it is our expectation that this will go a long way to build the nation and put it back on track. Thank you.
Now, back to you, Doc. As much as we say it is a laudable initiative, just like you rightly said, it's a welcome development. Of course, it will put smiles on the faces of some Nigerian students, just like Ganyu here has said. Now, what should the government do in order not for these initiatives to be abused? Because we've seen certain times when certain initiatives, certain policies are put in place and it's been abused. At the end of the day, you see the government saying, okay, put a stop to it.
Well, we know very well that education loans came all over the world. You know, it's a compassionate thing, and in some cases it gets abused. Even in the United States, you know, where they've been handling this loan scheme for probably over 70 or 80 years. Sometimes it gets abused, you know, but the government knows what it is doing, because education, as we all know, is the foundation of every society. You know, so for some families that cannot be able to train their children, is a big thing. Now, I think the best way to handle this, we all understand the economic situation in the country in terms of inflation and high cost, you know, of living. The government need also to take into consideration, like, as the economy grows, you know, they will take care of these youngsters, because I understand they are giving them 20,000 naira a month for maintenance cost, you know. So just like the managing director of the fund said, you know, that it can always be changed, you know, in respect of how the economy goes. I think it's a good idea. Then in the area of paying back, it will be a very good idea in my perspective. When the students graduate and do not have a job, you know, I think the government should, you know, have a little bit of mercy on them. For example, according to the managing director, he said, if you graduate, do your NYSC, after 2 years, you are expected to start repaying back. So in such circumstance where the person doesn't have a job, I think they need to have that understanding. That was why I said earlier that this scheme has elements of compassion and benevolence.
Thank you very much, Doc. We are now being joined by Atta Shehu, the Senior Special Assistant to Kogi State Governor on Youth Affairs and National Convener, Bola Tinubu School to School. It's good to have you in Nigeria today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, now, Atta, you know, the two guests here have given their take on this disbursement of the student loan. Now, we want to hear your own perspective. What do you think about the student loan that, you know, that just they've commenced disbursement? Of course, more universities are going to benefit from it. So what do you think about it?
Thank you so much. You know, there can never be a better time than this moment in our national life. You know, is a big opportunity for our youth, for our students nationwide. You know, over time, you know, over decades, Nigerians, the youth, will have suffered so much lack of funding for our educational system, lack of funding for technical skills acquisition. And Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, being the kind of person he is, and looking at his antecedents, he's somebody that is so passionate about Nigerian youth, about youth development, about you know, giving access to democratizing educational system. So that is where the student loan scheme comes in. We all remember that there was this act, Access to Higher Educational Loan Act, that was signed into law, that established the Nigerian Student Loan Fund, NEL Fund, and a body that can be sued and can sue somebody, so that is going to take care of this loan. And what it is going to do, what it's doing currently, is that this body is bridging financing gap for a youngster that wants to acquire higher education or skills. And the federal government has made it so easy that, one, you don't need to have a guarantor to access this loan. This loan will come to you at an interest-free. They don't check the financial status of your parents before you access this loan. So what it means is that an indigent student in Kano, a poor student in Kano that want to go to the university, or even an orphan, can access this loan and access higher education, can acquire skills. And it's just like Asiwaju had democratized education for Nigerians, and it's a huge opportunity for Nigerians to seize now. So far, we have over 200,000 Nigerians that have applied for this loan. Of over 200,000 Nigerians that have Nigerian students that have applied for this loan for either higher education or skill acquisition, over 170,000 has been approved by NEL Fund. As I'm talking to you today, I'm happy to inform all Nigerian students and even those who are already enjoying this loan that over 20,000 already has already been disbursed to Nigerian students, and they are already the testimonies. They are already informing their colleagues. This thing is real. It's not a fake promise. Students are applying in a day, in a single day alone. Last week, over 9,000 Nigerians applied for that loan. That means it's already a success story that Nigerians will have to key into. Thank you.
Oh. Now, back to you, Gani. You are one of the, of course, your university is one of the universities that benefited. Tell us, what were the procedures, and you know, and how apt is it?
Well, thank you very much. As the last speaker had said, NEL Fund had developed a robust platform where students could apply for this loan. NEL Fund is also in partnership with the universities and institutions to verify the claims of the applicants. So it's not as if anybody that applies would get the loan. The implication is that the universities must own the students.
What do you mean by that?
In a situation where people apply, the universities verify to say that these applicants are truly on our students' registration list. So it is for real matriculated students of the institutions. So it is when the higher institutions affected have confirmed that the students are really their students that NEL Fund will release the funds to both the institutions and to the students. You know, it's in two-pronged. The first part is the amount that goes to payment of fees and levies, which goes directly to the institutions. And then the other prong is the upkeep, which he had also mentioned, which goes directly to the students themselves for the upkeep. Now, I must say quickly here that you asked a question earlier as to what government could do to ensure that this is maintained. You know, one of the reasons why many students are afraid of applying for the loan is the payback. How do I pay back when, in actual sense, we have seen people who graduate from higher institutions in Nigeria and for years they are jobless? So, what government could do now is to come up with real job creation mechanisms that will make these students have jobs when they leave schools, so that as planned, after 2 years of leaving the institutions, they can start to pay the way it is planned. Also, the students have to be assured, and precisely that is what NEL Fund and the universities are doing. I can speak specifically for the University of Ibadan. What NEL Fund, in conjunction with the university, is doing currently is advocacy and reorientation. We are giving orientation programs for our students to understand that the government really meant well with this plan, and that there is no games being played in it.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Doc, what impact, do stakeholders expect this loan to have on higher education?
Well, I think the answer to your question is clear. Like I said earlier, education is key to the development of every society. It will definitely lead, to higher development in terms of economy, but more importantly, all these indiscipline, banditry, armed robbery, it will now calm down. Definitely it will calm down in this society, because we know some of the problems we are having in this country is sometimes due to unemployment or students not going to school. But now that students can now go to school, whether your parents are rich or poor, it's just like, for example, if you go to the US, Obama, one-time United States president, benefited from the student loan scheme. Even currently, the Democratic Party presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, also benefited from this scheme. So what this scheme is showing, that you can be anything in Nigeria, so long as you go to school. With this scheme, you can go do your first degree, do masters, and do PhD. And one day you can even become a permanent secretary or even a governor or president of this country. So I think it's a very lofty idea.
Now back to you, Atash Shehu. As much as we say it is a welcome development, the government is doing, a very laudable initiative. We must not also forget the fact that there comes, some challenges. Now, what are the anticipated challenges, that will confront the implementation of these student loan program, and how do you think that the government can, rise up to these challenges?
Thank you so much. This is a very, very good question. The expected challenges. As much as possible, the Act itself has put into consideration some of the anticipated challenges, and it has been built into the scheme itself. One, when you talk about a loan, if you give somebody a loan, there's a likelihood of default. So government anticipated that, and he has given a 2 years moratorium. You as a student, go to school, learn, go and acquire your university degree. We're not going to put you under pressure of interest. This loan is a zero interest loan. Go after learning, serve after service, 2 years after service. You have 2 years after service to begin the repayment of this loan. So government actually put a lot of consideration into building this scheme. It was a thoughtful idea that is being implemented meticulously, and they have envisaged some of these challenges, and they are trying to mitigate it. Another likelihood of challenge may be probably accessibility to funds. And don't forget that Asiwaju government is actually incorporate the direction of Ministry of Education and even NELFON. They are going in the same direction. Like currently in Ministry of Education, they have what they call the DOT policy. DOT policy is a policy of Ministry of Education that entails that they have the database of all the Nigerian students in Nigeria, the out-of-school children. They want to train both the students and lecturers such that there can be skill match. So what they are saying at the end of the kind of graduates you are going to be producing are graduates that will be able to have use for their skills. So in the long run, we are going to have a large network of Nigerian enlightened students that have the right skill sets, that can fit into the market, that can be productive, and that will render service to the country to boost the economy of this country, to make this student loan sustainable. So when we say that at the end of the day, it's going to be a very successful scheme, but that is not to say that they're not going to be challenged. I expect that, you know, if you see the MD of NELFON, that is Mr. King Sonya, the guy is he had been working so hard. He has within a very short time they have done so much. So I envisage that as the scheme is being implemented, they will learn from the process. Where it needs to be improved will be improved to make it more sustainable for future generation of Nigerians to access.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Ganiu, earlier you talked about you know, the NEL fund, you know, asking for some information from the school, and of course to ensure that the students are, you know, bona fide students of that institution before they go ahead. Now, apart from that, are there other information that the school, you know, give to NEL fund to ensure that those that really need these loans are being considered? Because we've seen cases where you know, initiatives like this have been hijacked by the wherewithal, you know, and at the end of the day, the aim is totally been defeated.
Well, I said earlier that NELFOND has a robust platform, a website that is very functional. And before even students begin to apply, the universities, the polytechnics and college of education and the technical colleges are expected to have submitted a list of all their students. You know, when you say this is a loan, it is not compulsory that everybody must take it. It is just to ensure that anybody who needed funds to go to school has a pool where he could draw. You understand? Now, for quite some time, there had been the agitation by students and student bodies that they don't want to pay fees, they don't want to pay levies of any form. It should be free, education should be free. Now, you know that nothing good comes easy. And like the Yoruba would say, any soup that is sweet
is money.
It's money that is speaking. So if you want good quality education, you have to spend money. And government has now said, okay, we don't want any student to drop out of school again, out of higher institutions, on account of inability to pay school fees. You know, this has happened in the past. For the University of Ibadan, for over the years, the university had ensured that no student drops out of school. Senate management have come up with several schemes to ensure that students don't leave the institutions on account of inability to pay school fees. We have approached philanthropists in the past. Many lecturers have contributed money to pay fees of students. But now the government is saying, hey, we can solve this problem. We have students who could not pay their fees, they could take the advantage of the loan. And
okay.
It's a robust thing. Like Doctor said, it comes with compassion.
Of course, it comes with compassion.
With the interest of the youth, of the the Nigerians, the downtrodden.
Thank you very much,
society.
Ganiyu. Thank you very much, Ganiyu. And we do hope that it's not abuse. You know, the people that need this loan get this loan to actualize their dreams.
Yes.
With that, we draw the curtain on today's episode of Nigeria Today. A very big thank you to our guest, Ganiyu Saliu. He's a registrar at the University of Ibadan. Thank you so much for your time and your contribution. And Dr. George Agbakahe, political and public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for coming. And we also had Atta Shehu, the senior special assistant to Kogi State Governor on Youth Affairs and national convener, Bola Tinubu School to School. Thank you so much for your time and contributions.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for being part of the program. Don't forget, Nigeria Today airs every weekday at 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. You can also check out this episode and others on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. I am Ikaria Clinton. Thanks for watching.